Welcome to the Wildcast Podcast, coming to you from Wildcast Studios, with your hosts Adam Lund and Jeremy Boucher.
Oh, welcome back for a second episode of the Wildcast Podcast, your unofficial voice for all things Moncton Wildcats. As always, I'm your host, Adam, and I am joined by your favorite co-hoster, Mr. Jeremy Boucher, and as well, we are joined by a very special guest, which I kind of teased on one of the lives. We don't get a lot of time to do this, so we decided to speak to Mr. Muller and get his thoughts on, sending his son across the
pond.
That's
across the pond.
Across the pond, and just what it's like to be over here. And welcome in. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. So I guess obviously, Miles is playing here. Just kind of, how did that come about? Was Moncton in touch with you? Did you kind of know Moncton, or even the Q was interested?
No, it came. It was quite a surprise. It was 2020. It was just after they had this get together with the under-16 national team.
Mm-hmm.
They had a tournament, and shortly after, we were contacted by Miles' agent, who said that there are some teams that are interested in the Q. Moncton was not the only one. There were like 2 or 3 teams that were interested, and so that's how it went. And then he got drafted in the Canadian draft,
mm-hmm.
since he's double citizen,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how it happened. So it was a surprise for us, and what was nice is because his mother is from New Brunswick, so
right.
It was kind of like a coincidence
Yeah.
that basically, as a part New Brunswicker, he comes here
Mm-hmm.
to New Brunswick, and it's also not too far from his grandparents, and so it's
Right.
kind of worked out really, really well.
I guess as parents, did you know of that
Loophole?
opportunity or loophole that allowed Miles to be drafted into the Q?
Actually, I knew about it because it was not very long before it was Theo Rochette who was the first one who was able to come, who never played here in Canada.
Yeah.
And I think it was his dad who actually fought for it, that his son, as a Canadian citizen, can play in the Q without having played here before in another league. So basically, Miles, I think, was the third player. There was Patenot from the goalie from St. John.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
He
No,
was
yeah.
the second one, Noah,
Yeah.
and then it was Miles.
Interesting,
basically,
yeah.
So now there's also Despont from
Yes.
who was who used the same loophole.
Mm-hmm.
But the pioneer was Theo Rochette.
There you go. Interesting. Good to know.
I kind of didn't know that Theo Rochette was.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember there was a kind of a controversy. I remember that draft because they said, the night before the draft, they said there could be a surprise first rounder, and people, it was, okay, well, what do you mean first rounder? I forget where he went, 8th or something. I can't remember where it was, but I just remember them saying, he's a player that could step into the top 3, and he's like, who is this guy? Nobody's heard.
Yeah.
He's not on the rankings
Yeah.
list. He was on those other players available list, right? And you're like, okay, well, how does he suddenly go from other players available to being a first round pick? So the Miles thing was a surprise to me too, because I didn't know about the loophole, but that's a pretty neat story.
It is one of those, a lot of people are like, how do we have €3? How did Moncton get away with
Yes.
€3? And I had one of the questions from Lucas Holton, who's a podcaster in Cape Breton, or in Charlottetown. He's like, okay, which one of these guys has dual citizenship? And I'm like, well, technically both of them do.
That's
Tybal
true.
is Austria
and
and Swiss,
yeah.
and Miles is Swiss and Canada, and that's kind of a loophole. So I feel like we're going to see that maybe a little bit more, but it's an odd situation. I guess, how did you meet Sandra? Was she over there?
She was over there.
Yeah, she was over there.
She came in 1996. She came to Switzerland. She was a dental hygienist. And you have to know, in the 90s, all the dental hygienists in Switzerland were Canadian or some Americans.
Right.
The profession was not very known yet there. So she came there for she said she comes here for a year. She's going to travel. She did travel every weekend, going to Prague, to Vienna, to Rome.
Yeah, because
so everything's so close,
Yeah.
And so she was like, okay, I'll stay there for 1 year, and then I'll leave. And that was her plan.
Mm-hmm.
So I met her at the gym, and so there the story goes. She stayed.
Yeah.
So now it's since 1996, basically. She's in Switzerland, and that's where we met at a gym in my hometown, and that's how it all worked out.
I want to say I'm shocked you met her at a gym. because
Well, yeah.
she's quite the power lifter. So
She is, yeah. She just became European champion in the weightlifting for the 50-year-old category of the 50-year-old
Holy
women,
smokes.
like 62 kilo.
we didn't say that, Sandra. We did
So-
not give away your age. Just want you to know that was not us.
That was me.
Yeah. So I was kind of talking to you, like you were, gracious enough to give Jeremy and I some tickets, and my wife and I some tickets to sit with the Swiss fans, which was a pretty cool experience in itself. But we were kind of talking about junior hockey and the level over there and the level over here. So, Dapont, Patenot, Miles, do they play together growing up in the same kind of, Swiss league, kind of like the Canadian kids do, where when you're in Hockey Canada, you're kind of Hockey Canada's next
Yes.
group, or do they know each other from over there a lot?
They know each other.
Okay.
Like Patenot, actually, Noah was in the same club like Miles.
Okay.
They both. Patenot is a year or two older, so they never really played together in the same
Right.
age group. But Noah was from the same club,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, they know each other. They know each other. And Switzerland is small, so basically all the players know each other. You always play one or the other. So yeah, that's like they basically know each other.
I came so unprepared for this interview. I don't. Everybody
just
knows
a-
I usually have my computer
Yeah.
in front of me, but when it's Saturday afternoon and
Saturday afternoon.
you get called to the studio.
Yeah, you get called in the studio.
I'll be waiting on my overtime pay there for next week, Adam.
Well, you have. Well, I wrecked your dry January, and I made
That's
you do
right.
overtime.
That's
so,
okay.
So how long have you been here?
I arrived here on December 17th,
Okay.
and so I stayed exactly a month. So because I wanted to see I was hoping that Miles plays in the juniors, so I wanted to go see the tournament games. I wanted to see the juniors, and of course I wanted to see him also play with the Wildcats. Yeah, so that's it. I did the same thing last year. His mother, she came in October to see, because she stayed here for like 3 weeks in October. So when I come here in December, and it's because also we have Miles has also two younger sisters,
Right.
so we have to split the time we come. Yeah.
So how hard is that to send your son over across the pond to another country and to follow his hockey dream? I mean, I have a 18-year-old, and I don't know if I could let her go at 15 to the States to play NCAA or even, to Prague to play in the junior league. Like, how difficult of a decision is that? And, between the family, because it can't be easy to send him away and only see him 3 weeks at a time or a month at a time.
That's the thing. Okay, he comes back in the summer. Like he spends from mid-May on, about mid-May till August. He's in Switzerland. So it's not the whole year, but it's true. It's like he left when he was 15 and a half years old. When he was drafted, he came here. Then COVID came. There was no camp.
Yeah.
So he went to RNS, to the school. And it was really young. But I have to say, with all the technology we have with the Zoom and Teams and all that, we were regularly in contact. Basically, like every week, we had like a 1 hour, 2 hour call. We were chatting together, so we were still quite close. And he, I have to say, he enjoyed it from the beginning. Like he liked the school, he liked this atmosphere. Already in RNS, he liked that, and so that made it made it easier for us because he was happy. Like we had the feeling he was happy, and he is. He's still happy here. And he enjoys it, So that makes it for a parent, it makes it much easier, if you feel that your kids are like they're happy.
Yeah.
How did that opportunity come up? Like, was RNS already in the plans for Miles, or was that more you get drafted and the Wildcats gave the opportunity kind of thing?
No,
or?
that was also a little bit of coincidence. It's like, we spent when Miles was 6 years old. It was the first time I went with him to Canada for training camp. So the first
At 6 years
at
old.
6 years old.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus.
so we
Putting some pressure on him.
Yeah.
so no, but it's true. He was 6 years old. We went to Quebec for a week, just to try out, and then he liked it there, and we thought it was good. So we went again into Quebec for 2 weeks the year after. Then we met an American couple who had kids who said, like, the best training camps are in on PEI. And my wife and I, we love PEI, so we went there. So he went every year. He went to Andrews Hockey School on Prince Edward Island.
Okay.
And so he did also some showcases there. And so he was contacted by different schools, who went to the showcase. And one of them was RNS. And he was actually the same coach who was still there, who saw him like 3 years or so before in Charlottetown. And he wrote us regularly emails, and then he wrote us like, again there, and we were like, we didn't even know that, we were not even sure if he gets drafted or not, and we were like, okay, it's why not, why not going a year or so, have this experience if you would like. So we did already deal with RNS, and then he got drafted, and then it was like, and then we found out that the coach
is Moncton's New Brunswick scout.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That was a coincidence.
Yeah.
That was not even a. So
Yeah.
it really worked out well. And
Yeah.
since there was no training camp, he played in RNS. And then when there was some injuries, they called him up. And yeah, so that's how the story goes. But it was a coincidence that we chose RNS. There were like a couple other schools that I was looking at, and we decided for RNS. And then it was the good decision we made.
Close and convenient,
Yes.
right? In
Yeah,
terms of a call up. I
absolutely.
mean, you're only an hour away.
Oh,
and-
absolutely.
yeah, no.
Which is funny because when he was drafted in like the 10th round there, you're like, I don't know if we'll ever see him. And then when he got into one game, you're like, this might be his one game. Who knows? And
Yeah,
now
I remember saying
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
like it was nothing against him. We just had no viewing
Of course,
on him,
yeah.
right? Like it's a situation now. He's got himself in a good bottom six role, PK role. He's excelling in it, World Juniors. It's just, I just lost my train of thought. I feel like you, like on a Saturday, I'm like, I'm unprepared. What is the level of junior hockey over there compared to here? Like, is there club leagues like this, or is it like the U16 programs and stuff like that?
Yes, you have like you have U13, U15, U17, and U20.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you saw a little bit like at the juniors, the level is not bad. It's really quite high, but you have to say like, there's not as much depth. Like every team, there's I think there's 14 teams in the highest level U20.
Yep.
And every team has, I'm sure, about 5 to 7 really good players. But there's you cannot compare like to the junior major league here, where it's like every player in this team could be like a top player in Switzerland. And in Swiss teams, there's probably 5 per team, or maybe 7 with the goalie. We would say like they're really, really, really good. And so that makes really the difference. So the big difference is, I think for if a player comes here, you have the constant competition. If you're one of the strong players in Switzerland, you basically have no competition.
Right.
Like you could go out on Friday night party and you still play on Saturday because you're like the guy they need.
Yeah.
And here you're out.
Yeah.
You have always that competition and I think that makes you also stronger, and that's something that I think helped Miles a lot in his development. To have this competition, to constantly having to face also adversity. Like you still always have to fight for your spot, and that you don't really have in Switzerland. If once you're good, you have your name and you're there, but depth is not as big as here.
Because there, if you're good, you can be poached by, I guess, Sweden junior pro teams and stuff like that,
yes,
right?
There's some if the really strong Swiss players, I would say they go either to Canada, North America. Some go to the US, and some go to more go to Sweden because they have a very good program for juniors. Very good program. So that's basically the places to go. It's like Sweden or North America. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about you. I mean, enough about Miles, right? Like we've got the hat here. SC Lease, you are the club president,
Right.
So tell us about your roles and responsibilities of what's the day in the life of Mr. Muller.
So like maybe first quick to the Swiss hockey. Like we have 2 professional leagues. One is the National League, and then there's the Swiss League. The National League has 14 teams. Is probably after the NHL, the second best league in the world. We can say it's like maybe the KHL,
Right.
Right.
But a lot of imports, they like to go to the National League in Switzerland. It's well paid. It's a good level. And
Is that the Davoses and that you see at the Spengler Cup,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Okay.
So that are the 14 teams that are really have the big budget. That's the big teams. Then we have one league below. That's the Swiss League, smaller budget but still professional, but not as good. And then the third division is it's called My Hockey League now, because it's always the name from the sponsor.
Yeah.
And that's a semi-pro league, and that's where the team is that I'm president of. It's like a semi-pro. It means really like I have some players that are, they don't earn much. It's like they earn max between like $500 and $1,000 maybe a month. That's it during season. So it's not much. They cannot really live off that. So I have like some players that are young guys, like 20-year-olds, who only focus on hockey. They do that basically full time because their goal is to still become pro. And the league, the My Hockey League, that third division league, that semi-pro league, is kind of like a springboard.
So it's a development league.
It's kind of like for guys who want to still make the step, to pro. And then we have some players that were pro, and now they stop being pro and they work. So a lot of guys, they work 100%, 80%, or 50%, and they still play. So it's a semi-pro league. It's 12 teams, and it's semi-pro is also for the staff. Like I do that as a volunteer. I'm a volunteer president,
right?
So I'm responsible for the whole organization. It's not only that one team. We have also a whole junior movement from like 5-year-olds to 20 to under 20 team. So we have about 300 members altogether, and I have one GM. He works like 20 to 30%. He gets a salary.
Yeah.
And the coach from the first team, he's about 30% part-time, works for us, and that's about it. And it's a good league. Maybe that's also interesting to know. We have in the National League, in the highest league, we're allowed to have 6 imports. Now it's new for the seasons. There's 28 Canadians right now playing in Switzerland. There's also Swedes and Finns and all kinds of stuff. Slovaks, Czechs. In the Swiss league, there's 2 imports allowed, and in the My Hockey League in the third, there's no imports allowed.
Oh,
so we have to play. We're only allowed to play Swiss. In our team, I have 3 Canadians, but they all have
Swiss passports.
Swiss passports,
yeah.
Because I always search online, I search guys on Elite Prospects, and I Google and everything. I search, if there's guys who have double citizenship, and they can come play. And I have like 3 young guys, they take that as a chance, show themselves, which is kind of cool. And
especially if it's development and you can have a life playing hockey. It doesn't have to be in Canada or the States.
Absolutely.
I mean, we went to Prague in June, and it's a 3-hour bus ride to Austria, and we tried to go to the Swiss, but it was a 9-hour bus ride, and we only had a weekend, so it was like, or train ride, but it's like everything is so close. You can, it's like the Maritimes, like living in Alberta, 3-hour drive. I'm still in Alberta. Here, a 3-hour drive. I'm in Halifax. I'm in PEI. It's just, it's everything's so close. So for a kid thinking of continuing his career, and you're able to email him, I mean, why wouldn't you take the chance to go over there in Swiss, right?
That's the thing. And you know what? If ever there's a guy listening who is like double citizenship, he can contact me. He needs about junior A or junior major, but junior A level.
So what is the age group?
The age group is like I have like the youngest probably 19, and the oldest is 43 actually.
Oh wow,
jeez.
Yager style.
Yeah, but that's a funny story too, because the guy is a Russian.
Yeah.
Who lived the last 15 years in the Ukraine. So when the war started, he had to flee the country. And so he has a refugee status in Switzerland. Wow. And because they have a refugee status, he doesn't count as an import. Because he's not really an import. We didn't get him. He came here as a refugee. And he played 5 years KHL, or 6 years. And he won the Spengler Cup with, I think it was Dynamo Minsk, I think. Yeah. He won the Spengler Cup 2009. He's still a very good player. He's 43 years old, and it's kind of cool to have him. It's like
I think that was Ovechkin's team.
Could be. I don't know.
I think they're the blue. I think they're the blue and white.
Could be. I know he won, and he actually made the deciding goal in 2009 at the Spengler Cup final. So it's kind of cool for our league. It's kind of gives a little glamour.
Well, yeah, it's a ticket sales league.
Yeah.
Like how big is the arena that you guys play in? Like compared to the Avenir Center,
it's much smaller. Like like in the National League, it's similar. Like the team where like the National League team in Biel, where Miles came from. Yeah. There, the arena is about 7,000 seats. 7,250 or something. Very modern, very new. Also a similar style like the Avenir Center. Not such a nice locker room. Like this is amazing. I mean, that's like
yeah, it works.
That's really cool that they have here. And then the leagues below, they have like 3,000-4,000, and the rink from Lease has I can fit 2,500, I think. But that's really, then it's packed. Right?
Yeah.
It's really packed. Like the most we have between 500 in it. And maybe once at the playoffs, like to 1,000, 1,500. Yeah.
I was just looking at the roster. There's a name that kind of looks familiar to me, Marco Cavalieri.
Okay. Yeah.
Did he used to play in the Q?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so. Yeah.
I think he was in Victoriaville.
Okay.
Yeah. He played in Q. Yeah.
He's the only name that popped that.
He recognized.
Yeah, the only name I recognized, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty neat.
Like, one of these typical players. He has a pro contract with Basel. Basel's in the Swiss league, and we are a partner team with Basel. So they sometimes give us some players, and Marco is one of the guys they give us to play. To get more ice time, and he's really super cool kid, very nice guy, and a very good player.
Yeah, I was going through the roster. I was like, where do I know this name from?
I think he was in Victoriaville.
Yeah, that sounds about right, because a few years ago, Victoriaville would find these random players, and I didn't know where they came from, and that's got to be where I know them from. So.
So is it like a small territory that like you only have a certain area that you can look, or you can look all over Switzerland?
I can look all over Switzerland.
Yeah. So how much of your time is taken up on with the general manager looking for players?
Yeah, actually, as I said, I have a GM also. I have a guy who's the director of sports basically. Yeah. He's like the guy who searches player, but of course I help also. And I would say the whole thing takes me probably like 10 to 20% a week, which is still a lot because I don't get paid for that. It's just real. It's real only volunteer.
Yeah.
And but it's a lot of fun. I have to say it's a lot of work, but it's fun, and it's still rewarding. It's rewarding if you can build up something. We have in the last 4 years, we still managed to get like 4 or 5 players in the pro, and that's cool too. If you can do that, and it's a great thing. Yeah. But it's a lot of work, I have to say.
Yeah. Well, yeah, especially when it's like it's not your regular gig. It's volunteer.
It's not. It's really volunteer. Yeah.
You got to find the time to do it. Yeah. So, is Miles looking to come like when he comes back after his Q career? Is that something he wants to continue playing on, or is it? It's up to him where he wants to go.
Let's get to the NHL draft first.
Yeah. Well,
folks.
exactly. That's what I mean.
Of course, the goal would be to stay in North America.
Yeah.
And.
But even like long after, he can play in that league when he's done over here, right? Like
absolutely, there's also possibilities. Always also National League.
Yeah,
and that's a good league too, and it's well paid. I have to say, in Switzerland they pay well. But I mean, you want to stay here. It's just it's like it's like you develop more and so. But he's gonna if ever he has the possibility, and so I think he's gonna stay the next couple of years here. And he developed so much. I have to say in the last 2 years. And I think that's the thing. If you play with, as he said it, I think in an interview actually the juniors, if you play with the best, you get better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's how it has to be, and I think he's going to stay the next 2-3 years. I think he could even make 3 years still because he's a late born. I think, but at least 2 he can make. That I know. Yeah.
Well, the World Juniors are in Sweden next year, so
next year
a little bit easier trip for you guys to make.
There's once the whole family who can go. Yeah, like his sisters can come also. Yeah,
that's not bad. Yeah.
That's I mean, it's so neat to we have different media members, but to actually get a parent that goes through that, like what's the experience watching your son play in the World Juniors? Because I'm sure you guys watched it growing up over in Switzerland and stuff, and I know time-wise you're watching these games at midnight. Like, how hard is it to follow the Wildcats when games start 7 and here they're at midnight over there, unless it's on a Sunday? Like, how hard is it to actually follow this team when you're over there, even to watch them?
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, it's not difficult to follow because I can stream it, we can watch it, And I mean, first to come here, of course, it was an amazing experience, and I have to say, like the whole world, everything was perfect. Like I had the thing, the organization, the ambiance, like the people, like just having just the pre-tournament game against Canada, you know, like that was such a great thing. And I don't know if you know, I don't know if I told you that before. You know, I went to see the pre-tournament game, and I took a ticket, and I had the ticket right next to the penalty box. Mm-hmm. And the first guy who comes in the penalty box was Miles. I was literally sitting at the window of the penalty box, and he comes in, he was angry, he's like making his head, you know, he sits there, he doesn't see me. You know, I made pictures, and people were around me like, is that your son? I'm like, yes. And people start taking pictures, you know, and he was there, like, it's like, and it was his 18th birthday.
Yes.
So at least I said him, you know, I said like, you know, and then after the game,
he just did that for camera time.
I think so.
He was like, I'm going to take a penalty and get on camera and get on TV.
I'll risk my place on the team to take a penalty on my birthday.
Yeah.
No, but it's funny, you know, after the game, I told him, I said, hey, did you realize that for 2 minutes I was sitting literally next to you? Yeah. And he's like, no, when? I'm like, when you had a penalty. He's like, what? so no, but it's, yeah, that was a great experience. And then the question you ask, you know, with following the Moncton and Wildcats, we like, I watch every game.
Okay.
And
I mean, yeah, I guess you don't have to watch it live. You can watch it.
No, but I watch it live. You know, and I'm tired. It's true. It's like, you know, it's midnight, and when it's in Quebec, it's 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And sometimes I said, you know what? I'm not gonna watch this. I have to get up tomorrow. I have to be at work at 7 or something. You know. But then I'm in bed, and I'm like, you know, and I take my phone. I'm checking, like, you know, I can't. It's like, it's like you have to. It's like it's really hard. Like I could not watch it. And so sometimes I'm a little bit tired after the season.
You take a couple extra holiday days just to sleep after the season, which that's what I said to Layla when we were in Prague. Like the Memorial Cup was there, like was going on here when it was there, and you know, St. John was in there, so I really didn't care. But like 9-10 o'clock, I'm like, oh yeah, the game's 2 hours from now. Nope. I guess so. I mean, I had no invested interest in it, but I mean, I guess if we'd have been over there in Moncton, would have been in the tournament, maybe I'd be up at 12-1. But it's just like being a sports fan over there for North American teams. It's got to be tough, especially when, like you said, you're laying there, you're like, well, I'm already up, so I might as well just watch it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Obviously, like I said earlier, Miles, it's a late birthday, so it's kind of his NHL draft year. You know, we went through the Central Scouting rankings yesterday. Didn't see his name, but have there been any conversations, you know, that you know of, you know, maybe a team or two that have interest?
I think Miles had some contact with some teams.
Yeah.
I know you can't say much about it, but that's I just thought I'd ask.
Well, especially when you're on the World Junior stage, right? Like that's the scouting hub for all these kids, especially the ones that are going to be drafted. So, did you know a lot of the fans that were? I mean, obviously you knew the Desponts, but like over the 10 days, like you obviously connect with the Swiss fans. But did you know them coming in, like the Biascas and?
I didn't know the Biascas. I knew the parents that from the kids who were born 2004, because Miles played with them before at the Linka Cup a year or two ago, like in the summer. I think it was 2 years ago, with Dionicio, Rodwin, like his father, father I knew. I knew of course I know the father from Alessio Beglieri, the goalie, because they're both from the same team. We you know we live in the same town.
The backup goalie, right?
The backup goalie, yeah. And so the 2004 parents, them I knew. The 2003s, I didn't really know. Like, I no, because it's funny because they were always a year older, so there was always like this. It's the first time that they're in the same age group. So,
do you know the type? Like,
of course,
you know the Tybals and stuff
like
playing together.
He was a 2004. Then I met also already before, when they had the national team get together. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I always wondered like how different, like from afar, you guys are and playing in different club teams, and then because it's not like Canada where you play with your group and then you go play AAA and then you go play U15s and stuff like that. So, were there more fans that showed up as the tournament went on, or was that the group that was kind of together? Like, were there packages from?
There were some more parents showing up after a while,
right?
But it was basically like this. It was about 20-30 people, I think. It was about that group,
Because it was a lot of fun to sit in that group.
Yeah,
is that kind of a microcosm of what games are over there in Switzerland? Like always, like the atmosphere from the Avenir Center, which you've seen a couple to games in Switzerland with your team or other teams. Like, What is the like? Was it a microcosm from the?
Yeah. No, I think like the big difference. You might have seen it when you watch the Spengler Cup.
Mm-hmm.
The big
I wanna go
difference
there live.
is like it's just like you have only seats here, and in Switzerland, even if you make a new rink, you need some standings because some fans, they say we're not going to sit, we're going to stand. They bring their flags, they bring the drums, and they chant for the whole sometimes for the whole game. And this is the big difference, like this really, and they bring big flags. They make sometimes like choreographies, like with big posters, and it's like it's really funny. Like when you have Canadian players who come to Switzerland, they're often surprised, but they love it because it's like it pumps you up if the whole, everybody starts singing and chanting and Sandra always sings like, oh my God, they're loud, this is crazy, but that's the thing, that's the big difference. You might see them in soccer, when you see European soccer, that's very similar in the people, they chant, they drum, and they have flags,
You hear that, Avenir Center? It's fun. It's allowed. It's just one of those things. I've been beating the drum for 4 or 5 years just to let people get loud, and if you let them, they still have to do it. And that's what I really enjoyed. And we talked about it before the World Juniors. Jeremy's like, I'm there for the Latvian fans. Yeah. I'm there for the Austrian fans, like the Czech fans, like all of them, because it's such a different atmosphere. And that massive bell that I think the Desponts, was that their bell, or was that?
I think that was their bell. And that's something typical. Whenever the Swiss are somewhere, in like at the Olympics or so, you always bring the cowbells.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because the cow is kind of like our national animal.
Things you learn on a Saturday afternoon.
Maybe I'll fact check that one, but maybe I don't know.
So you guys got any plans to come back and then like around the playoff time, or is this kind of like?
I have to see. I have to see with work and stuff. I mean, somebody would like to. Yeah. Maybe even if it's just like for a week or so, when they
have the girls been over? Like, has the whole family been over to watch them play, or
no?
Just
you
guys?
The girls have never been over yet because with the vacation, because they're still in school,
right?
So you have to
school. Schmule.
I agree.
You said before we started, they're asking you for homework. Send it with them. Bring it down. Away we go. But they haven't been over here yet.
No, not in Moncton. No.
Yeah.
No. So hopefully we can do that once. Yeah. Because I know they would like to, they would like to come see him play also. Yeah. But maybe for the playoffs, we'll see. It depends a little bit, for work and all the stuff. Yeah.
Do they catch up on, like, do they watch the games live? Not live, but do they watch the games keeping up?
They follow the keeping up, what he's doing. They're always asking me, what did he do? And so, but they're not watching the games, no.
How big is your Lies, the town you live in?
I'm actually not living in Lies. I'm living in Biel.
Okay.
Lies is like a town nearby.
Okay.
Lies has about 18,000 inhabitants, and Biel, where we're from, actually is about 60,000.
60,000?
Yeah.
That's a big difference, yeah.
I thought it was maybe a small town. I was going to say,
No.
Like, do the girls get asked about Miles and Junior? Do a lot of people know that Miles is over here?
They know, and they, especially the kids know.
Yeah.
Because they follow each other on social media, and the girls get often asked, like, hey, is that your brother? And so, and now, of course, when the juniors, they were on TV.
Yeah.
And so there it was like, some people, is that your, she came often home, she said, hey, the teacher came, is that your brother? And so, yeah. So
that's nice.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, obviously, I think we've kind of run out of questions.
Yeah.
And, it's not the nicest day out, as everyone will hear this and realize that we made this on a Saturday. So, just thanks for coming in, and we don't have a chance to talk to parents a whole lot, because sometimes they may be a little bit off of not wanting to be on camera, right? And Layla was saying that you've done broadcasting, you've done podcasting, and stuff like that. So that's why I reached out to you. So I mean, thanks for all your support and making us a worldwide podcast by listening over in Switzerland.
I'm gonna put it on our social media for Lies. I'm gonna tell them, so probably you have a little bit more listeners for the next one.
No, but I mean, obviously both you and Sandra and the Tybells, I mean, you're I started this just for people in Moncton, but now when you realize the impact it has on families who don't get to see the kids or don't get coverage all the time, it's just it's an honor to A, have you in the studio, and B, thanks for all your gracious support.
No, thank you, and go on with the good work you do. for us, it's also nice, to listen, get some insights far away, over the pond. so no, it's cool. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Wildcast Podcast.
edition.
Follow us on social media at Moncton Wildcast.